Live and recording. You can begin whenever you wish.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and welcome everybody to our regular council meeting. Today is December. Before we get fully into the meeting, just to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Township's YouTube channel. Council, as is the case, always, if there's a matter that you'd like to speak on, please raise your hand and be sure to speak into the microphone so that those watching can hear you clearly. We'll now call the roll. We have Deputy Mayor Nelson. We have Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston, Councillor Landsman, of course myself, Heather Watson, and a number of members of staff are joining us today, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time in the meeting. So with quorum of council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And we will just pause for a moment of silent reflection. Okay, moving on. Council, the agenda was distributed prior to the meeting today. I have not received any disclosures of pecuniary interest, but I will call for that now if there is anything. Seeing nothing, we are going to look for a slight change in the agenda. Yeah, I'm at the right spot. In the agenda, we do have a delegation listed. Wayne Edwards, the allocation of funds in the 2026 budget. In his place, council, we'd like to have Melanie Hammond to make that presentation on his or on behalf of the association, the Road Association, on the budget. So to make that change procedurally, we do need 2/3 vote to make an agenda change because it is not moving, it's a change of the agenda. So we're looking for a motion to approve that. Moved and seconded by Councillor Watt and Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And then a full motion to adopt the changed agenda, please. Councillor Landsman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? That motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda. Nope, I got ahead of myself. We have the adoption of our minutes and business arising from the minutes. So our regular council meeting minutes from November 18th. Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Landsman. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion carries. Now on to consent. We've got 5 items sitting on consent. Council, is there any item within that list that anyone would like to pull for discussion later on in the agenda? Seeing nothing, just one motion to receive them all, please. Councillor Landsman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, so on to delegations, petitions, presentations. And as noted earlier, we do have a delegation from Melanie Hammond. So come on up. The lectern is there, and you do have 10 minutes to present. There you go. And it's on. You're set.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Thank you for your time tonight. So my name is Melanie Hammond, and I am one of the 7 permanent residents on Demers Road, who I am representing here tonight. So the proposed 2026 budget, which Council is finalizing, includes public works brushing projects, which currently show 9 locations scheduled to have completed on them. And as the residents of Demers Road have presented and identified to this council, Demers is in need of brushing and tree removal. As this council has seen firsthand on their fall road tour on Tuesday, September 23rd, Demers Road has many standing dead trees that need to be removed. trees broken in half, hanging out on the roadway, and others that have fallen down and are sticking out on the roadway, which is going to cause issues for snow removal and proper access for emergency vehicles. We are requesting that Demers Road, which is a public township road, as verified through multiple surveys, be formally added to the list of brushing projects, scheduled for 2026. We, the residents, are trying to work with this council to come to a resolution of the regular maintenance of the road, which would include plowing in the wintertime. For complete transparency to the public and for those of you on council who may not realize that the township took over the regular maintenance of Demers Road starting in 1985. This went on for many, many years, until such time, that the township simply decided to stop all maintenance on Demers Road, leaving the sole resident of that time, Mr. Donald Marcel Demers, a retired war veteran who lived on his own, to figure out the maintenance of the road himself until he passed away in 1996. Demers Road is exactly 9 clicks from the Public Works Building in Warsaw, which is about a 10-minute drive. It takes about 10-15 minutes max to plow the road. We are requesting that the township assume winter maintenance once again. The cost to do this is minimal and is far less than the tax revenue generated between the residents, which totals $24,449.59 annually. We're simply asking that a small portion of this revenue be allocated to plow Demers Road. Council has brought up multiple times the cost of reconstruction of Demers Road to county road standards, which we, the residents, have never asked for, nor do we want this to happen. We're simply asking for winter maintenance and the removal of the hazardous trees, which council has already confirmed that the township is liable for. We have provided the township with a 2023 report of Demers Road, completed by an engineer with over 50 years of experience in this matters, and has confirmed that, I quote, "The road base of Demers Road is in excellent condition. Emergency vehicles such as ambulances, fire trucks, police, garbage trucks have safe passage on Demers Road during the winter and summer months." The township's fire chief has also confirmed that there's no issues with passage on Demers Road for the fire trucks, so reconstruction of the road is unnecessary and should be removed from discussion moving forward, please, because reconstruction is not required to ensure adequate access for emergency vehicles. This council has confirmed that the township has an obligation and responsibility to always keep a standard for passable access for emergency vehicles for all residents. The residents of Demers Road have created beautiful homes and properties, and we have no intentions of leaving anytime soon. So we are willing to pursue this matter until the end. If the council chooses to continue to ignore, we will simply, to ignore us and hope that we will go away regarding this matter. We are not. Once again, we are hoping council will work with us to come to a resolution that works for all parties, rather than the township agreeing to needlessly spending taxpayers' money for legal counsel to pursue this any further. Councillor Johnson did speak on November 4th meeting on this matter and suggested perhaps that it's time to revisit maintaining some of these roads, and he was right. It is time, especially roads that the township used to maintain on a regular basis, such as Demers Road, but ultimately ceased to service. Many members of the public are keen to see how this council chooses to address and ideally resolve this matter, an outcome that will likely be remembered when the 2026 election approaches. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and we look forward to working out a resolution together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your delegation. Council, any questions of our delegate? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thank you. Through the mayor. I believe we're here back a while ago over the tree cutting, and I think this council actually did instruct our public works to go in and based on time and budget to look after some of the trees. I don't know whether any of that is done. We do have our manager of public works here, maybe to to rely on for whether any of that was ever done?
Through the mayor, any trees that were on hydro lines at the time was the request that to be taken care of right away. I'm not sure the complete resolution, but that was council's direction at that time, was to take care of those, and they have been removed.
Thanks for that, Jake. Just in response to your request, this is an unopened road allowance in the township. We have many of them. And we also have many residents that live on other unopened road allowances. And for us to, I don't think you understand the picture. The picture is residents have to bring that road up to a standard, a township standard, in order for us to put our vehicles that other taxpayers pay for in, besides use, other people actually pay for all of this equipment. So for us to put a plow or stuff that is not up to a standard for our road standard, that there's a whole process to go through, and I'm sure the clerk would be willing, or staff would be willing to send all that information to you. And you probably have already had it, or probably already have gotten it given to you. But anyways, in order for, there's a whole process to have that happen. And I'm sure council would be on board with doing that if you wanted to open up the road allowance at your expense and all the people there, but not put it on the backs of other taxpayers to open up a road that has been a closed road, I think, most of my life. It's never been a road allowance that's ever been maintained by the township. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions of our presenter? Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on the motion that I made. What I was hopefully said and meant was that I think we need to look at these unopened roads about getting severances. That's what I meant to say, and I thought I said. I think we need to take a look at it. We need more housing. We all know that. And if there's good workable land in areas, I don't know why we can't look at that, and maybe it still would be an open road, but maybe be able to take some more severances off them, just like the ones that are there now. That's what at the time I was saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. So seeing no other questions of our delegate, just a motion to receive. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by a motion to receive the delegation. You'll make that seconded or no? Okay, so we've made, seconded, all in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. On to item number 9, public comment period. And we do have a registered speaker. I believe our speaker is Lois Wallace, who's joining us on Zoom. Madam Clerk, do we have Ms. Wallace with us? We can see you. Can we hear you? We can't hear you yet, Lois. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
And you are here to speak on item number, just for council's reference, lost it here. Item 10.2, the Shoreline Preservation Bylaw Review. That's further down our agenda. So I believe you have 3 minutes to comment on that report.
No problem. Thank you very much. And thank you to council for the opportunity to comment on the staff reports and the recommendation that's been made on shoreline preservation. Speaking on behalf of the Environment Council for Clearstony and White Lakes, and we support the staff recommendation that council proceed with option 2B. to include a requirement for a tree inventory and preservation plan impact assessment as part of site plan control. However, this measure really does not go far enough to protect shoreland vegetation and natural landscape, and thereby protect lake water quality in Clear and Stony Lakes. We're very disappointed by the limited scope of the jurisdictional scan done by DM Wills on behalf of the planning department. Regulations other than the Halliburton bylaw should have been included, and there are still gaps in shoreland protection that need to be addressed. The reports to council do not acknowledge or address a fundamental gap. There is nothing in place to prevent extensive clearing of trees, dumping of fill, or significant grade alterations of the natural landscape before permits are applied for. Site plan control takes effect only after this point, while we see extensive damage being done to shorelands before the permitting process begins. There is no deterrent or penalty in place. There are other shoreland protection measures still missing as well. We commend the township for approving a stronger site plan control bylaw back in February, but this bylaw does not state a limit on grade alteration, whereas the Halliburton bylaw applies to grade alterations of only 1/3 of a meter or more. Nor do we see anything in place, as in Halliburton, to prevent or govern blasting of Stony Lake's iconic exposed granite shorelands or the limestone escarpment along Clear Lake. Therefore, we urge that in addition to proceeding with option 2B, Council direct staff to continue to study other municipal regulations that protect shoreland, trees, and natural landscape, and to develop further measures to address the gaps I've outlined. More municipal regulations should have been included in the scan done by Wills. Muskoka Lakes and Georgian Bay both have tree conservation and site alteration bylaws, and the Muskoka bylaw works in combination with site plan control. Innisfil, Lake of Bays, and Rideau Lakes also have regulatory approaches worth considering. To sum up, proceeding with option 2B would be another positive step in shoreland protection, but the job isn't finished, and we ask again that you direct staff to do more research and develop additional protections. This is essential to ensure protection of lake water quality and the natural beauty of our lakes, both important to the local economy and the township's property tax base. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments, and of course, we'll be addressing that report right shortly, Lois. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we are on to our staff reports. Item 10.1, bunker gear purchase, and that goes over to Chief Pedersen. We don't need a motion to receive on that. No. Chief Pedersen, for your report, please.
Thank you. As you're aware, we budgeted for 18 sets of bunker gear to be replaced in 2025. When I attended the fire trade show in May, we learned that changes were being made by the NFPA standard for bunker gear. Last month, we learned that those changes are, and we had to make some adjustments to our current gear specification. The standards say that interior firefighting must be done in gear no older than 10 years. Our 2015 gear expired on November 30th. So time is a factor to limit our risk. We have made contingency plans for this gear by having it inspected and tested and scored. As a result, we have 2 sets of the 18 that have failed. Those individuals understand that they cannot go inside a structure fire until their gear is replaced. This approach isn't ideal, but has been demonstrated by other organizations in similar circumstances to ensure that the proper gear is acquired. To speed up the process while still ensuring we have a quality assurances in place, we would like to try purchasing through the canoe procurement procedure. I have spoken with several other fire chiefs at conference that have used this procurement procedure, and they're very happy with the outcome. When reviewing the canoe proposal evaluation documentations for personal protective equipment, there are 8 areas that are scored with a total possible score of 1,000 points, where price alone is worth 400 points. The company that we chose to work with is an Ontario vendor that sells products that are also made in Ontario. We have experience with this vendor. They are actually ranked #1 in the canoe personal protective category with a score of 822. There is also a price increase effective February 1st that we've been told about, but we don't know what the impact of that increase is yet, as this information is new, so they're trying to figure out exactly what those impacts are going to be. So for 2026 budget, if we commit to the order prior to this date, we should be within line of our proposed budget. So the recommendation is that report Fire Chief 2025-06 dated December 2nd, 2025 regarding the purchase of bunker gear we received, and council direct staff to purchase bunker gear through the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada for both 2025 and 2026 budget allocation as approved.
Thank you very much, Chief. Council, over to you. Any questions of our fire chief? Seeing nothing, looking for a motion. What would you like to do, Councillor Watt?
Motion to follow the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded by
I'm
Councillor
going to second it.
Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to the shoreline preservation bylaw review, and we have Ms. Key from DM Wells joining us to present this report. Hello, Diana. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Sure can.
Perfect. So through you, your worship, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is Diana Kay. I'm the principal planner and manager of planning services at DM Wells Associates Limited, and we are located in Peterborough. I am here this evening, obviously, to speak about the report regarding the shoreline preservation bylaw. And thank you for the delegation. I'm hoping that the summary of our findings will provide some clarification and additional information that will address the delegation's concern with the recommendation this evening, or at least the further extension of the recommendation. So as you know, in February of this year, Township planning staff retained DM Wells to review the option to implement a shoreline preservation bylaw within the township. Our scope was very narrow. It was to review whether or not this type of bylaw would be an important and informative tool within the township. So the reason why we didn't go any further with that is because our direction was from staff for our review was scoped to the shoreline preservation bylaw. So the review of this bylaw was initiated, of course, by council direction in response to concerns and comments that were presented by the local resident group, Environment Council. So in addition to all of the site plan control requirements that we implemented earlier in this year, that of course assists and helps with shoreline preservation through various studies and plans, we kind of switched our gear to, of course, the shoreline preservation bylaw to see what additional measures does this type of bylaw offer. So as part of our review, our team reviewed the existing provincial and municipal legislation and policy, and we documented any existing direction for shoreline protection within those documents. So we found that based on our review, the policy direction, of course, from the province provides protection policies for our significant natural heritage features. We found that the county's official plan, the current one and the new one that will hopefully get approved in the next 6 months, encourages shoreline naturalizations, but it doesn't specify a regulation on how much vegetation can be removed. It also is silent on site alteration. So we noted that. We do also note that the official plan does restrict development to be set back 30 meters from the water, and the zoning bylaw, of course, follows suit by implementing that policy as a setback regulation. So in addition to those policies, we also have the site plan control bylaw, where staff can request additional studies like a tree inventory and preservation plan from applicants to ensure the responsible development of the shoreline. And as you know that all of the township of Douro-Dummer for shoreline development, the site plan control bylaw applies. So you can't develop within the shoreline, whether it's a planning approval or it's a building application, without going through site plan approval. That's how the current site plan control bylaw reads. So there's always an opportunity to make sure that there's some kind of study or plan that's being prepared and then implemented through site plan control prior to development. So in addition to the policy review, our scope of work also included a review of other shoreline preservation bylaws. We were asked to complete a jurisdictional scan within the province and then to report on those findings and then potentially bring a bylaw forward. So based on our research and review, I think everybody knows there's really only one shoreline preservation bylaw that has been approved in the province. So unfortunately, this really limits our research in terms of available information for us to use and consider when thinking about, is a shoreline preservation bylaw an appropriate mechanism and tool for the township? So we were limited in terms of the useful information there. Finally, we did not find any monitoring program from the county, which is currently assessing or confirmed the effectiveness of the bylaw to date. So we don't really know how well it's being used. I will say I have used the bylaw, whether I am acting on behalf of one of my municipal clients or if I'm acting on behalf of a private client. So I have some experience with it, but that's an aside. We're looking at overall whether or not this is an appropriate tool for the township. So when we were looking at the shoreline preservation bylaw, it is outlined, or the layout of the bylaw is actually very similar to the requirements of a site plan control bylaw. There is a requirement for the property owner to submit an application with all the associated plans and studies, and then you can be issued a permit, and then the township can ask for securities to make sure that if the property owner abandons the project or the work, then the municipality has some security to tidy up the site with that money. So very similar to the site plan control process. But what's interesting is that the bylaw also states that an applicant can be exempt from the shoreline preservation bylaw where activities are being undertaken as part of site plan control, plan of subdivision, a consent. And we assume that they included this to avoid duplication of work and efforts. So that way you're not asking for the same thing in two different processes. So really, if we're looking at this as a type of mechanism to implement for shoreline preservation, it would be duplicating what the site plan control bylaw already does, or it would be exempt from those requirements, and then there's really no point to the bylaw at all. So we saw some process challenges with the way the bylaw is laid out. And so then from there, we turned our attention onto the actual technical regulations in the shoreline preservation bylaw. What is it actually regulating? And it really speaks to tree removal and site alteration. And so as we summarized in our staff memo and in the staff report through our recommendations, the current shoreline preservation bylaw for the County of Haliburton allows, as of right on a residential lot, up to 25% tree removal and 30% when you're looking at commercial development or marinas. 25% can be a lot or a little. It really depends on the site context. So, you know, where it might seem appropriate as a one size fits all, it may have significant impacts depending on what's being proposed and what the site looks like and what kind of naturalized what kind of vegetation the site has to offer that naturalized state. In addition to that, the site alteration portion of it pretty much says that no site alteration is permitted unless there is some minor landscaping. So it reads as though it treats site alteration as other than what's defined as minor is major site alteration. The issue is that there's not a lot of details in the rule in the bylaw itself. So the applicant can really understand what it is that the county is looking for when implementing this bylaw. So it gives the county a lot of flexibility to determine what's minor and what's major, because it's still subjective in the definition. So there's still some concern there in terms of implementation because the interpretation is really up to staff. And that may or may not be a good thing. It depends again on the site context. So in Will's recommendation in the memo and the staff report before you this evening, we made our recommendation based on whether the implementation of a new bylaw, a shoreline preservation bylaw, would achieve the shoreline preservation being sought, which appears to be focused on tree removal, which we're not arguing that there shouldn't be more mechanisms with respect to tree removal. But because the only other shoreline preservation bylaw that exists within the within the province kind of follows the same process as site plan control bylaw, it does not appear to be the most effective tool that the municipality could implement to actually achieve what it is that it's looking to do. If site alteration and tree removal is the major concern, and this can be done whether someone needs an application or not. I mean, someone can go on their property, and if they decide they want to clear cut it, it doesn't mean because they're prepping their site for development or they're going through site plan approval or any kind of planning application, they can go and just clear their site because they want to tidy it up. So the site plan or the shoreline preservation bylaw and the site plan control bylaw, the delegation is correct, doesn't actually address that. So because we don't have any other examples to pull from on how we can actually prepare this type of bylaw, to be honest, I'm struggling to understand what this bylaw is trying to be. It sounds like it's a tree cutting bylaw with a site alteration bylaw functioning as a site plan control. So I wouldn't say that looking at a shoreline preservation bylaw being the most effective tool to actually achieve what we're hearing tonight. There are, however, a lot of other more effective tools, such as a tree cutting bylaw and a site alteration bylaw. Now, unfortunately, that was not part of our scope of work, so we did not dig into that review. However, because there's so many existing examples where these bylaws have been tried, tested, where they've been updated in order to address usefulness and appropriateness, it might be the more appropriate way to implement the measures that are being sought. So it is why we ended up with a recommendation that we consider that it's appropriate for staff to continue to use the mechanisms they have in place today. However, it doesn't preclude council from investigating further options outside of a shoreline preservation bylaw, just based on our in-depth review of the bylaw itself. We don't think it's going to achieve beyond what the township already has in terms of the tools in its toolbox. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions of Ms. Kay on her detailed presentation and report? Seeing nothing at all. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I just got one question. Were you online when the presentation before you went out? Did you hear her presentation? Maybe you didn't understand what I'm saying.
Diana, were you?
For you, your worship, sorry, could you mind if they lean into the mic a little more? I can't hear.
We're just wondering if you were on Zoom.
Yeah, the chair. Just want to know if you heard the presentation before you on her concerns.
Yes, through you, your worship, I did.
Now, do you think we need to go any further on what you have your option B to be?
Through you, your worship, I think it would be appropriate for council to investigate further. Based on the review of the shoreline preservation bylaw, I don't think this is going to achieve what the residents are concerned about.
Any other questions from council? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd be ready to move the recommendation whenever you're ready, Madam Mayor.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Johnston?
To the chair, I just want to make sure, Harold, that you might include some of these things that were brought forward first on your recommendation.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I can certainly speak to the former presentation and certainly speak to what I've been told around the township and around the community. I can tell you to put in a tree bylaw. I think every one of us would be looking for a job. The people that pay the taxes should have the right to do whatever they want to their property whether it's cut a tree, cut 5 trees, cut whatever that might be on a bigger project or anything that happens that they're coming in, we do have that right to ask them to plant more trees or do whatever they want to do on that site. By doing it this way, which I agree with, we do have some control over it, that they put trees back. But as far as coming out with a tree bylaw, I think that infringes on people's rights of property ownership. And I own property. And if I decide I want to go out and cut a tree, I own property in Peterborough. And when they come in with the bylaw for cutting trees, I had a tree that was deader than a hammer, and I had them come over and I asked them if I could cut it. They would not allow me to cut it. So I told them they could assume the responsibility if somebody got struck by the tree. Unfortunately, that fell on deaf ears. I went ahead and cut the tree anyways. It was going to fall down and kill some kid. So I caution this council to bring in tree cutting bylaws, and for the sake of, let the people that own the property decide what they want to do with the property. And that's my stance on it. And as far as, we do have mechanisms in place by this bylaw that we can actually convert a little bit of pressure on them to put it back, put some trees around shorelines. And I can tell you the shoreline, not to pick on you at all, but the shorelines, people have, Stony Lake has changed drastically. And I'm sorry, but we're not going to stop it. And to turn around and go back and say, oh, we want nothing but long grass and everything else around our lake shores is ludicrous. Who are we going to make do that? Sorry, you can pass all the bylaws you want, but people will only do what's best for them. And if I pay the taxes on it, I should have the say on what I do on my property, not this council or somebody else from someplace else making bylaws up to regulate my property. I'm sorry. I believe in property rights, and I believe in the person that pays the taxes should have that say. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Landsman, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Personally, I would like to go back and listen to both of the presentations again. I can, not now, but when I get home, because I do think they have valid points in both of them that perhaps, having heard it just once going through, I feel quite sure I missed things. So I personally will go back and read it and listen again.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Johnston.
What I heard earlier was that you were going to follow the recommendation. And the recommendation also includes option 2B. So because that does preserve so much. Okay, so as long as you understand what 2B read. I mean, I support that, but I just want to make sure that that's where you understood it.
Okay, so I don't see any further questions. Deputy Mayor, do you want to go and make your motion? Not go, but would you like to make your motion now?
I would follow the recommendation of 2B.
And Councillor Johnston, you said you would support that? So it's seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you both. On to item 10.3, recycling and non-eligible source materials. I have our CAO and our manager both tagged on this. Who's going first? You? All right, so over to you, Mr. Davis.
Through the mayor to members of council, I just want to give you bring forward a report this evening that talks about non-eligible source materials and recycling program in the township of Douro-Dummer. As you recall, a couple of meetings ago, I brought forward some information related to some changes that are going to start to occur related to the way that we deal with recycling in the township. Not necessarily the curbside collection of recycling, that will remain the same. I just want to assure members of the public and members of council. But my report generally lays out we do have a number of properties as identified that do not receive curbside pickup, whether they be on a private road or an island in the township. And the province of Ontario had announced prior to 2023 that they were shifting responsibility for dealing with recycling materials to the producers called Producer Responsibility. Those producers have developed an organization called Circular Materials Ontario. And in 23, we struck an agreement so that they could use the Halls Glen transfer station as a depot to collect, or what they call a depot operations agreement is what we signed, so that they could collect those materials from those properties that are not serviced by curbside collection. That contract we received, as I outlined to council earlier a month or so ago, we received a notice from them, from Circular Materials Ontario, and we have a final change order that has been sent through for use of that facility. That has been attached to the report for your reference. And really what it does is it extends the current depot at Halls Glen Transfer Station through from 2026 through to 2028 to ensure that our residents that are not receiving curbside collection continue to receive such things or those services. It removes references to non-eligible sources, which I'll refer to in a moment. It references blue box materials defined in the regulation, outlines the scope of promotional and education responsibilities that the township would have to help support this process, and changes our compensation from $3,699 annually, which is subject to change from time to time based on the amount of non-eligible materials that are involved, to a more firm and fixed rate of $2,226 monthly. Secondarily, I did note that Peterborough County had come forward with some material related to non-eligible sources. Those sources are recyclables that are being picked up in our institutional, industrial, and commercial properties in Douro-Dummer. If they were receiving curbside collection, they will no longer receive curbside collection, and they have bear some responsibility for dealing with those materials themselves. And what we are encouraging is that we do not accept those materials at the Halls Glen transfer station. It helped our conversation with Circular Materials Ontario to separate those out. And we have been working with Waste Connections Canada in an effort to have a location for those materials to be collected or dropped off within Douro-Dummer Township, which then leads to the third part of this report, which is a renewal of the lease between Waste Connections Canada and the township for a depot located at 348 County Road 6. The Waste Connections Canada has leased that space from us in the past. We are proposing to sign a lease extension or a new lease with this organization that's reflective of current provincial legislation. And our hope is that in doing so and working with Waste Connections, they will become the location to receive the non-eligible source material. That sort of summarizes my report, but I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Council, over to you. Any questions of CAO Davis? Councillor Johnston.
To the chair. So you're saying the commercial establishment will not be have their garbage picked up?
Through the mayor to Councillor Johnson, it's not the garbage, it's what they call non-eligible materials. So the recycling materials, so recyclable materials. So lots of commercial businesses who currently have recyclable materials deal with them privately and independently, whether it's in a bin and it's being picked up, they're currently paying for that collection. There's a small number of organizations in our community that are still put out some of their recyclable materials to the road, including the township at Town Hall. Come January 1st, those materials will no longer be collected by Circular Materials Ontario. They will become or remain the responsibility of those industries and organizations to manage, not the responsibility of the township.
Okay, just to follow up on that, what about styrofoam? Does that come into any play at all?
Through the mayor to Councillor Johnson, I don't have that answer. Maybe the manager of public works could provide, sorry to put you on the spot, Jake, but
Through the mayor, I don't have any information on the styrofoam, whether there's going to be that addition to the stream that's collected as of now. This is just for the current state that we're in, curbside pickup of your recycling. So those individual, much like our arenas, our fire halls, those situations, those places will not receive curbside pickup no longer. So they'll have to manage that themselves. So we're proposing that, or we're in talks with, we've had some communication with Waste Connections to use the site at County Road 6 for a drop-off location.
Or Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of notes to make people aware. The county, we have been lobbying hard, the provincial government, over this. It's ludicrous. They turned it over to the producers, and then they decide that they're not going to pick up from institutions and everything, all the industrial, all the stuff that doesn't qualify for to be picked up for recycling. And it's the province that has done this and put this on to us. And so now every municipality has a problem with all of that. All of them recyclable products that now we have to figure out a way of collecting and someplace for it to go. And it's actually ludicrous that they would bring in a program, and BC done this before, and they done this exact same mistakes. And we even told the province prior to this even happening, or we sent them letters from the county saying we're going to end up in the same problem that BC is in. And here we are. And they will not even listen to us. And it's unfortunate. I think it's very unfortunate. And so what I'm worried about is recycling ending up in our ditches because people are not getting collected the way everybody else is, and it's ludicrous. They produce this material, and then the government says, the provincial government has said, oh yeah, you don't have to collect that. I think it's crazy, but that's the problem. I just want to give you a little bit of background, but we continue to lobby and fight the provincial government on this, but this is what's happening, folks. So that's my comments.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Just to clarify, the clerk flagged here, currently styrofoam is considered hazardous waste and should be going to PIDO, or when we have the hazardous waste drop-off, whether it's coming from a commercial resident or a residence, just to clarify that, Councillor Johnson.
Okay, to say that, I've been for years trying to get them to pick up my styrofoam, and I have bags of it every week. And they basically just told me, don't worry about the recycling, just throw it in the garbage. So I just throw it in the garbage. So following up with what Harold is saying is that if they won't pick up the recycling, would that maybe mean that they'll throw it in the garbage?
I
You know,
certainly,
like instead of taking it somewhere else?
yeah, Counselor Johnson, we can't speak for what individual business owners are going to do, but I think that that's been one of the concerns that's been discussed with the waste management and at county council. We've had this issue come to our council by way of letters of support that we've supported and forwarded on. And I believe even tomorrow at county council, I'm looking at you, Deputy Mayor, there's 2 other initiatives, one from Otonabee South Monaghan, one from Selwyn Township, about this very issue, about what CMO, Circular Materials Ontario, calls non-eligible sources, or what municipalities often label as ICI. CAO Davis.
So 2 points I want to make abundantly clear. First and foremost, when I brought my report forward, I believe in either late October or early November, it included a resolution that this council supported and we sent forward to the appropriate provincial ministry that manages this program. And secondarily, I want to be very clear. We're not proposing to pick up the recycling at ICI locations across the township. The reality is we felt the best solution that we could provide as a township was so that we did not incur the cost of having to manage this program, which we have never had to pay for in the past, was to identify a location and work with a person that can, an organization that can accept that material. Waste Connections Canada is agreeing to do so, or at least seemingly we're on the path to having them agree to do so. There will be a tipping fee or a cost associated to the residents, not residents necessarily, but the ICI or industrial, commercial, and institutional businesses that choose to participate that way. There is the risk that some recyclable materials will enter the garbage stream, but realistically, we can ill afford to manage or pay for this program or contract it out in our community for that particular portion of the community. I also want to be very clear that residential recycling curbside collection processes will continue and will be available to be picked up. As well, if we agree to the change, if council agrees to the change order as I recommend, there will be a depot at Halls Glen that will receive all of our residential recyclable materials. So if you miss a pickup day as a resident from a residential property and you bring your materials to the Halls Glen transfer station, we will still accept them. We will just not accept institutional, industrial, and commercial.
Any other Councillor Lansman?
Thank you. Through you to CAO Davis. Referring to your report 2025-25, the item about Halls Glen transfer station continuing as a recycle drop-off, which you just mentioned, for 248 residents, that's not possible. I can understand if they're on an island, but are there people, is this presently the status? Or are there people who are being cut off? That's my question. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Landsman, no, when I was working with, the reason I know it's not 248 residents, it's 248 residential properties. So there have been 248 residential properties. They're not all islands. They also include private roads where we do not generally do garbage and recycling collection. And that figure came to me from Circular Materials Ontario, who has been very done a bunch of research as to which are the eligible properties, who's eligible from a residential property to be picked up, who's eligible from to drop off from a from a residential property that's maybe not receiving curbside collection, and then identified who our institutional, corporate, commercial, and industrial properties are.
So thank you. That means then that they're just carrying this on. Thank you.
It's a complicated issue. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I'll be brief, but like the silliness of this is the recycle truck already goes past the front door of this facility right here. And they've always picked up our recycling, but now all of a sudden that same truck's going to go by, but hey, I can't stop there anymore. You've got to send another truck or pick up another vehicle, whatever, to run that. You're duplicating things. They're talking about greenhouse gases and emissions and all that stuff. And then they turn around and bite themselves in the face. Like, it's just ludicrous.
Thank you, Counselor Watt. CEO Davis, did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. Okay, so council, now that we've asked all kinds of questions, does anyone want to make a motion on the report that's before you? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to follow the recommendation that Todd has put forward in his report, and thank you very much, with thanks for the report.
Thank you. Does anyone want to second that? Counselor Johnston thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.4, purchasing report, landfill monitoring and asset management planning. CEO Davis, back over to you.
Through the chair to members of the council, traditionally a purchasing report comes from the finance department and not the CAO's office. However, a number of factors contributed to me bringing forward this report this evening. Our treasurer happened to be absent last week very suddenly, and so I was happy to carry the weight on this as well. What I'm going to ask for tonight through procurement is in the sole purview of the CAO's office. And so it is appropriate that I bring this forward to you this evening. I'm seeking council support and to move forward with some sole sourcing of two services that we need to have some requirements for in the township. First and foremost, we have a long-standing environmental monitoring and reporting program that is required for our waste disposal sites or landfill services within the township. This is a monitoring and reporting program that is mandated to us from the province of Ontario in order for us to maintain our environmental compliance approval for those sites. Cambium Incorporated has provided those services to us in the past. And they have their contract comes to an end at the end of 2025 and we're seeking to re-extend that contract for a further 5 years. Under the purchasing policy F2 section 8, under the exemption methods of acquisition, sole source, subsection 3, the township opted to sole source this procurement due to the following key factors. The proposal that is attached is we believe to be very cost effective. The increase in costs are less than 10%. In fact, the cost to increase over the course of this further contract is a 2.4% increase for us, well under the 10% threshold. And allows us to enjoy some economies of scale and some work that Cambium has already done in terms of drilling test boreholes, et cetera, that they will continue to monitor. And so those are the two reasons, and that is the reason why we're asking to award that contract in that amount to those organizations, to that organization. Secondarily, I seek council approval to award the final stage of our asset management planning program or to complete the asset management plan to PSD citywide. I'm seeking that in a very similar fashion. The township has opted to sole source this procurement due to the following key factor: the current iteration of and the intended first draft of the asset management plan was created in the citywide platform in order to maintain its compatibility with the existing product. Having citywide complete this work supports both expediting the process, but also maintains our plan on a platform where the township has been using for the first 2 phases of the asset management process as dictated by the province of Ontario. And so that's my updated report. Happy to take any questions that council might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Council, over to you. Any questions? Just looking for a motion then, Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to follow the recommendation and sole source both of them contracts.
Thank you. Does anyone want to second that motion? Counselor Watt, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to section 11 of our agenda, committee minutes and other reports. We have the Douro-Dummer Public Library Board meeting minutes, just a motion to receive those. Counselor Lansman, seconded by Counselor Johnston. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion carries. We have 3 individual pieces of correspondence from Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board. Certainly, Council, I can speak to any of these items if you'd like as Vice Chair of that board. But first up, we have the OPP Detachment Board minutes, just a motion to receive those minutes, and that's item 11.2.1. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Lansman. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion carries. 11.2.2 is the Community Appointee Selection Committee recommendations. We are looking for a resolution to support those appointee recommendations that are included in your report. Councillor Johnson made the motion, seconded by Councillor Lansman. I heard you. Yep. Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. And lastly, 11.2.3, the Peterborough County OPP Detachment Draft Action Plan from 2026 to 2029. Also here, we're looking to get a motion to receive, but also weigh in as to whether or not you want to submit comments on the plan itself. I can share with you that the action plan itself is the localized version of the broader strategic plan that the OPP corporate has. The action plan is how those strategic objectives carry forward through within our own community. There was a subcommittee that was formed of the board and our detachment commander, Chris Galeazza. I sat on that committee, that subcommittee. We did go through the action plan and set those individual targets for the next 3 years. That came back to the board for review. It hasn't been approved and adopted as of yet, but it had to be received by the board, and they're taking comments through until I believe we're having a special board meeting on January 5th, early in the new year, where then that any feedback that's received by that time would be presented, decided upon, and then it needs to be submitted back to the OPP and then through Solgen, Solicitor General, for final ratification. So that's kind of the bigger picture of what's gone through. So Council, if you have reviewed the action plan and have any feedback that you want to be taken into consideration, we need to do that this evening so that it can be carried forward. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Is this kind of in conjunction with our open house upstairs? There was you could scan, whatever they call those things. Yeah, yeah. And it took you into a questionnaire and it was, a lot of stuff about our township and what we expect and what we'd like and what we want. Like, so this is kind of an extension to that to kind of tweak things up a little bit.
Certainly. Inspector Galeazzi could probably speak much more intelligently about this, but that was one of the ways that information was gathered to formulate this plan. That information was distributed to the committee that helped do that. In addition to that, there were a number of community consultations that were done. I believe we actually even hosted one of those here with some faith-based leaders and other community members to provide input on what some of those local priorities ought to be within not just our community, but Peterborough County as a whole. And I can't speak to all the other various community consultations, but they were looking for feedback from the broader Peterborough County in different groups. Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just question on that was, what is this open for the public as well to comment or no?
Thank you. The clerk reminded me. So that part of that community consultation has happened, which formulates the plan. So what, as members of the OPP Detachment Board, our council now can review that and submit feedback, but not community consultation feedback.
Okay, thanks for that.
Councillor Lansman.
Yes, to the mayor, through you, Mayor. is this the draft plan that you are discussing? That has a send feedback by December 19th?
I'm just opening up the attachment to see, yes.
No, because I thought you had, it sounded like you mentioned that they needed feedback into January. So maybe I misheard that.
The meeting that's happening is early in January, so it could be that staff need opportunity to post it and gather the information and distribute it. Oh, it is, yeah, the special board meeting is on January 5th. So I guess their deadline of ours, to us is December 19th. So probably to observe the Christmas holiday break and be able to have enough lead time to get it posted and distributed to the board at the special meeting on the 5th of January. So we're looking for either a motion to receive or any particular feedback that you want taken into consideration. Councillor John, or Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to make a motion to receive it and that council members take a look at it. And if there's any feedback that they think or any comments or questions they'd like to pose, do it within the time allotted. But that is my motion.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. On to correspondence action items. We have 2 items for our attention, starting with 12.1, the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. Resolution regarding conservation authorities. Councillor Watt.
So I'd like to make a motion to just receive that, please, because it's as of the meetings that have gone on the last little while, including this past Monday, it's pretty well a done deal. So I don't think they're going to stop it here now. So I'll just receive it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for your service on that board, Councillor Watt. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Question, discussion? Your microphone, please.
If it could be received and supported, that was going to be my comment, but.
Understood. But it was a motion to receive is what's on the,
Mhm.
that's been made and seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion to receive? All in favor? That motion carries. We have correspondence from April Hope, request to have error in council meeting minutes corrected. What would you like to do with this one, council? Nothing, not a motion to receive. What would you like to do?
I'd like to make a motion to receive it, please, and maybe get a little bit of a prelude as to what, like, we get asked this a lot to, make sure that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's and stuff like that. And, to go back and change something that we've already approved and so on and so forth. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that because we get a lot of flack from certain people, certain individuals in the township for stuff that we miss or didn't do correctly or, received wrong, stuff like that. So I'm not overly, anxious to make any changes in something we've already approved.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive from Councillor Watt. Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Landsman, any discussion on the motion? Councillor Johnston?
Yeah, I'd like to, which I should have done on my own, talk to our manager of recreation to find out exactly what did go on about them picking up garbage and watering the fields and all this stuff. Because if some of that is true, we need to pull up our socks. But I wanted to get talking to him and I never did. So I mean, I'm still out in limbo on what is said because it's kind of a slap in the face. So I'm not prepared to change any motion that was done in the past, but I still would like to know where we stand on this situation.
Okay, Councillor Johnston, so the item that we have before us is about changing the minutes. If you want to have staff report back on the comments specifically, do you want to have that come forward in committee of the whole in the staff report? Or did you want to go and do some additional homework?
No, I would like that brought to the committee of the whole.
Okay,
with our,
So we can make a separate motion on that. And then we'll deal with the motion to receive. I'm sorry, who seconded that? Councilor Landsman? Yep. And then we'll come back and do the motion on the committee of the whole. Any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Deputy Mayor? I thought you were ready to vote.
I am, but, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just something or a comment I'd like to make on the motion is I agree with, my colleagues. What the record is what it is. And to go back and change the record, I think it's already out in video. The motion or what was said has already been said. And to change that record is ludicrous, in my opinion. I'm prepared to support the motion. So thank you.
Okay, so on that then, we've got a motion made and seconded. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. And Councillor Johnston, back over to you for the motion to ask staff to report back on a matter at committee of the whole.
well, you read it all for me. Yes, we'd like staff to bring back to the committee of the whole meeting, discussing the situation that went on in August at the parks.
And would somebody like to second that motion? Councillor Landsman, any discussion on that motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Okay, on to bylaws. We have two in front of us, including 13.1, which is bylaw number 2025-42. And this is the lease agreement with Waste Connections of Canada that our CAO was alluding to earlier. Just looking for a motion to approve that bylaw. Councillor Johnston, seconded by. Were we going to second it? Councillor Watt? Any discussion? This is bylaws, guys. I'm like, we've already read them, right? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 13.2, bylaw number 2025-43. This is a zoning bylaw amendment further to the public meeting that we had 2 meetings ago, or 1 meeting ago, 2 weeks ago. And the bylaw is now coming forward on that. Councillor Landsman? Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt with a question.
If I may, am I allowed to say a name on this one, or this is open council, I guess, is this the bylaw to approve, Mr. Payne's, request? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, and then I'm in favor.
Sorry, thank you for saying the name was escaping me. I just remembered the property. Yes, thank you. So we've got a motion made. All in favor? And that carries. We have no reports derived from previous notice of resolution. Any notices of motion? Seeing nothing. Any announcements? Councillor Johnston. You'd have something.
Not so much of an announcement. I just want to thank everybody that participated in the Santa Claus parade. I think we hopefully would send out a little thanks for the people that put in floats, and also for the people that organized it as far as food and drinks and everything goes. I think it was a great night, and I think we would be proud. A lot of people showed up. There's a few little things we may have to look at doing a little change in the future. But other than that, I think we should be very proud that that really it brings the community together, these kinds of things. So I really wanted to say thanks for everybody that participated.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnston, for those kind words. And thank you to our co-chairs, Councillor Landsman, Councillor Johnston, for your work as well on this, and to staff. And as you said, all the volunteers and folks. And a special thank you to the big guy in the red suit who lit up a lot of faces on Saturday evening. Any other announcements, Councillor Johnston?
And one more announcement is that this Sunday, again, is the first Sunday of the month, our Knights of Columbus is having breakfast out in Douro, and everybody is welcome, 9 to 12. So I know there's a lot of people in the Warsaw area also, not just Douro, that comes to this breakfast. So I'm making sure that everybody's invited.
Best breakfast
Thank
for
you.
$10 this side of Peterborough. Any other announcements? Seeing nothing further, we have no closed session, just our confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Counselor Watt. All in favor? That motion carries. Our next meeting, committee of the whole is December 10th. And a that surprised me, a regular council meeting on December 16th. And lastly, just a motion to adjourn. Counselor Landsman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? That carries. Thanks, everyone. Have a safe night.